welcome back. I do these videos in blocks. That's why the like and subscribe button has not changed from the last one. So, if you could do us a favour and like and subscribe, you'd be doing me a favour. Because like I said, I know there's people out there watching. Again, boggles my mind, but and I appreciate it, but I would appreciate more if you liked and subscribed it. Liked and subscribe. Anyway, a video on individualisation. I have mentioned it a few times, but I've never really went into it in much detail. It's kind of covered in the adherence video, but I'm going to go into a little bit more detail here because it's very important, amongst a few other things, which we'll get to the infograph in a minute, which looks incredible on screen. But anyway, individualisation. The meaning of it is to make something different to suit the needs of a particular person. I don't have much notes on this, by the way, so I'm winging it, so please bear with me. But what this basically means is, if you're creating a diet, it needs to fit around you and your particular needs and your lifestyle and the foods that you like. Like all things that you enjoy doing, you would hopefully then implement it into your diet in some way or other. There might have to eventually be a compromise. You know, you can't sit there and say, well, I'd love to have pizza every day. And like a pizza, you get a fucking Domino's pizza for 1,200 calories, but you're lose weight on 1,500. Like, that's no very conducive towards your goals. But you could say, I'll have a quarter of a pizza. Or, you know, you could have like a wrap pizza, which is only like 300-400 calories. Things like that, compromise. There needs to be realistic compromise there. But anyway, onto this amazing infograph. So I've kind of touched on these points before, but this is a video specific to the individualisation part of it. Individualisation, we could pick holes in this, by the way, it could be bullshit, it might be something brilliant, but when I watch these guys on Instagram or read books and see all these infographs, I'm thinking that makes so much sense on just a little picture. This is my idea of it. See if it works. But anyway, individualisation covers goals, adherence, flexibility and lifestyle. And then they all sort of intertwine with each other. But when you're trying to change any sort of long-term goal of yours, your specific needs have to come into it, because you are your own individual person. And it's great to have these studies, you know, these studies with like 8,000 people or 100 people or whatever, and they do tell us really good information, but within those 100 people or 8,000 or whatever, you're still your own individual person. So when it comes to creating hopefully long-term better habits, you need to think of yourself in that. What do you like to do? What don't you like to do? What exercise do you like? What don't you like? What kind of foods do you like? What foods don't you like? All that sort of shit. You know, you might be told, if you think about, there's quite a trend on the internet right now about being as optimal as possible. So you listen to like Andrew Huberman and getting like Joe Rogan and things like that, if you believe everything that they say. They are absolutely brilliant for sources of information, but they can make you feel guilty that you're not doing everything optimally, and you need to then stretch yourself to become optimal. So you need to like cold plunge and all that sort of shit. But I go back to it, like, you could have a young family, so you really got to go up at 6 a.m. and jump in a freezing cold bucket and then get back to your normal day. Not everybody can, and that can then make you feel guilty of not being able to do it. I've got a cold plunge, been up for 6 months, not used it once. So the best way to start this sort of individualisation is, one, get a coach, or you can start figuring out all this stuff yourself. And there's nothing wrong with figuring it out yourself, but you're likely going to hit roadblocks a lot more and think this isn't working for me. Whereas if you had somebody in your corner as a coach, they'd be like, well, maybe try this, maybe try that, you know, and then you start building this puzzle that would help you stick with your diet and potentially training goals. But if you're getting told to get up at 5 a.m. and then only eat eggs and like steak and eggs in the morning and chicken, rice and broccoli and stuff like that. And again, I keep going back to sort of family stuff, but I've got a young kid, and if I was to sit there and eat shit like that, she'd probably think I'm mental. And I've got a vegetarian fiance as well, so eating stuff like that it doesn't fit me, doesn't fit my individual needs and whatnot. So the whole family thing's massive, I think. But I'll give you another example for myself. If I met somebody, like if I had needed a coach, and they says to me you can't eat crisps, I'd be like, not a fucking chance. This is happening. So that'd be a kind of a caveat to mine that I would need to have some sort of crisps in there. Again, I'd compromise, go for pop chips or something. But at the end of the day, if they're like, you're not eating crisps, I'd be like, you can fuck off then. So this is why now we're starting to realise when these popular diets that are pushed on you, you know, you would just automatically assume, right, I'll follow it because people are losing weight, but it's still not taking into account that your preferences. And when you start including your preferences, your likes, keeping yourself away from your dislikes, you're likely to succeed more, and you'll probably lose more weight, and you'll be happier doing it. People just assume that dieting is like a really miserable time in your life, when it's not actually. If you can make really nice foods, once you start getting the hang of everything. So diets have this idea of only having to eat salad and only having to, again, like chicken, rice and broccoli and shit like that, where you can actually make really nice salads these days. But that's for another video. I think I'm done there. I'm not going to keep repeating myself, but if you're going to create something yourself, or if you are thinking of starting something new, you really need to think of, how am I going to stick to this? How am I going to make this as easy as possible for this diet to work? And if you start straining yourself, you're likely to fall off the wagon. But just be mindful that you can be as flexible as you can up until a certain point. You know, again, I'm not advocating that you have a pizza and that be your 1,500 calories for the day. Like that's far too flexible, and we'll talk about that stuff later on. But flexible in terms of the situation you're in. Maybe some days you're happy to go low carb, but then the following few days you can go high fat. No, sorry, you go high carb. You know what I mean? You can switch all this stuff about. Again, that comes down to the individual person. Each individual person. Again, then your lifestyle comes into it. Your happiness doing it, and the more flexible you are, the more happy you'll be to do it, because you'll be able to then start changing things up as situations arise, because your life's flexible. Very rarely does people have like regimented same days. Their days are usually flexible. So if your diet is as flexible as your day, you'll be doing really well. I think I'm done there. We'll call it a day, and don't forget to like and subscribe. As I mentioned in the last video, I think it's a good idea with any of these sort of videos, you start having a disclaimer at the end, and it'll look like this.